In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques of the short story through to the line edits of the full-length novel and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio for your websites, as well as help with those book blurbs and promotional material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writing into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 $3 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
Is debt beating you down? You need discipline. You need the Debt Ninja. If you've been caught in a financial trap and need to be set free, then you need the Debt Ninja. Want to stop those harassing collection calls? Start saving thousands in interest and fees and get out of debt fast? Then you need to call the Debt Ninja. The Debt Ninja will find the best companies across the country that will help you consolidate all your bills into one easy payment, reduce your payments by 30 to 50%, and get you out of debt fast. If you have unsecured debt of $10,000 or more, such as credit cards, loans, or medical bills, call the Debt Ninja for a free 15-minute consultation.
Call 800-826-1246. 800-826-1246. That's 800-826-1246. Call today.
The Debt Ninja.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet, we're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Well, welcome, everyone. Welcome, listeners, to Conservative Commando's radio show. This is Anna Little, and I'm co-hosting today with the one and only Sharon Engel. And, of course, we're coming to you live from our Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. And, of course, we have those Internet partners that you all depend on, and that's American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. They're all .coms. We're everywhere and around the world on the Internet. Sharon Engel, welcome to Conservative Commandos.
Thanks, Anna. It's been a while since we've been partnered together on our favorite radio show, and on a fabulous Friday even. It's great to be back on the show, and it's great to be talking with you, and, of course, our silent John Forsyth, the guy that keeps this show really running. Now, I want to say thanks a lot, John. You know, we couldn't do this show without you, and you're kind of our silent partner over there.
He's the man that makes the machine run, that's for sure.
That's right. And he's still silent.
Yes, he will be. He's smiling, I'm sure. I can't see him, but I can imagine it. So, Sharon, we've got this election in full swing, you know, and it really has been heating up, and we've been seeing the back and forth between the candidates. But this final debate really brought out an issue that hit home for me and for you. We were talking about it off air. Bring our listeners up to date on our conversations.
Well, I think we both agree that finally the rubber has hit the road. We finally have an issue that many will say is polarizing across the U.S., but actually it isn't. You know, our Constitution guarantees us the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And that's for those children, those adults, those seniors, born and unborn, to a life from conception till natural death. And I thought I'd seen it all, Anna. I thought I'd seen it all with my father. You know, for the last 6 years he's been on hospice with Parkinson's disease, and they kept saying, we can't figure out why he's living so long. Well, It had to do with good care and a lot of advocacy on the part of his children. And, we think that we can trust our medical community, and in most cases we can, but sometimes they get it wrong. And they get it wrong because sometimes the politics in this country gives them a way to justify wrong thinking. And Hillary Clinton just crystallized that in this last debate when she talked about the lives of children. Because of their circumstances, because of where they live, they are not afforded the rights of our Constitution. And by that I'm saying because they live inside the womb and not outside the womb, they no longer have rights. And because their mother and her circumstances decides that it's inconvenient or that it's just not right timing or whatever, or even because she's afraid to raise a child that might be different. We've justified that life does not deserve constitutional rights. And basically that's what Hillary Clinton said in the debate.
She did. Sharon, I was floored. She came out and said on a question about partial birth abortion. Now, I really thought we had addressed that issue. The science is on the side of the baby. The viability is at a younger and younger gestational age. And I just thought we had gotten over the hump on partial birth abortion, but not Hillary Clinton. She thinks right up to the moment of birth. She didn't go so far as to say after birth, but Barack Obama has said that. But right up to the moment of birth, it's okay for that mother with her doctor to decide to kill that child. And I was floored. My jaw dropped, and I just shook my head. I couldn't believe I had heard it. And then, of course, I've heard it replayed so many times that it's certainly reality to me now. Now, Sharon, you've got a personal situation that relates directly to this gestational period of time. And I would love for you to share that story. I think you'd have to have permission of that baby's mom, and I think you do. So would you like to talk about that?
That's right. We've been talking about this on Facebook, and anybody that would like to follow this story is welcome to be my friend on Facebook. Sharon Engel is all you need. Just at Sharon Engel. That's my Facebook and my Twitter. We haven't been tweeting out, but we certainly have been posting on Facebook as this story develops. I wanted to just bring in Rick Trader, our fearless leader, is not with us today, but he's certainly listening to the show. And he says, without the right to life, all other rights are meaningless. Meaningless, Anna Little. And that's why they put it first in our Declaration, the right to life, liberty, and then the pursuit of happiness. And we often say our Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll hear some in the wings saying born and unborn when they finish the Pledge of Allegiance, because we understand that it isn't about where you live or your circumstance that makes you an American. It's because you're alive. That's what gives us our rights, is because we have life, and those are inalienable rights when we have life. And life begins early. It begins at conception. In fact, it's not 2 or 3 weeks before a mother can take a test and know exactly that there's a baby there, that there's a life there. In fact, I think there's morning after tests. It's just, we know when life begins, and we know when that beating heart starts. And there are a lot of states that have actually put in beating heart legislation to say that as soon as you can hear that beating heart, that life is viable, and it is not, there is no justification for taking that life once there's a heartbeat. But, of course, on the left side, Hillary Clinton doesn't believe that. But getting back to our story, in February, my daughter and son-in-law knew that they were expecting a child, and they were excited. They went in and got a an ultrasound at the proper time and determined that this was a boy. They could see him in there, and he's a boy. And so they named him Benjamin Bruce. Right after that naming, the doctor came back and said, you know, you're at risk, being over 40. And this baby looks to us like it's got trisomy 18. Now, that's just a big thing for a chromosomal defect is what it is. Down syndrome is trisomy 21. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a way to determine where this baby is. And with that diagnosis, she said, you need to terminate. This is incompatible with life. You need to terminate. And I will tell you that 96% of the people, when they get that preliminary diagnosis, they do. They abort this child. And, you know, we're right up against a break. And I want to leave us kind of hanging there so we can come back after the break, introduce our guests, and then I'll continue with the story of Benjamin Bruce. And we are coming to you live from downtown Philadelphia on Conservative Commando's Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. And we'll be right back after this break with Sharon Engel, Anna Little, Silent John Forsythe, and the rest of the story.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Since 2011, we have been calling for a national commitment from all Americans to participate in an annual event to honor all of the victims and their families who suffered during and after the most devastating event to ever take place on American soil. We all remember those horrible scenes of destruction on September 11th, 2001 that unfolded right before our eyes, either up front or on television. We continue to ask every American to participate in the united action of prayer, which is simply to stop whatever you are doing at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or to offer a prayer to honor the memory of those who are directly affected by this unforgettable scene of destruction. Please include a prayer of thanks for living in a country where even something as horrific as 9/11 could not weaken our spirit. This year, we would like to ask one more thing as a show of unity since we are still fighting with the enemy who caused the 9/11 tragedy. Would you display the flag for the day at your home, on your car, bike, or anywhere you can display Old Glory? Let's show our enemies that we can still unite in our love for our country.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network and CCRShow.com, or at noon, roarradio.net, and at 11 p.m., highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Sharon Engel, you were in the middle of a story just when we came up on that break. I want to swing it right to you.
Okay, thank you, Anna. We were talking about Hillary Clinton and her abortion stand. She's for murdering children. I don't think we need to make that any more soft than it needs to be. I was talking about my daughter and her baby and a diagnosis of trisomy 18. I would say that Rick Santorum's youngest child has trisomy 18 as well, and she's still living. So when they advised my daughter and son-in-law to terminate the pregnancy, as I said, 96% do on this preliminary diagnosis, they said, we can't. After an amniocentesis, now we're talking about 4% of the people who say we're waiting for the amniocentesis. After the amniocentesis, 93% of those left terminate the pregnancy. And they came back with, yes, it's confirmed this is trisomy 18. He's going to have numerous problems: cleft palate, hair lip, spina bifida, no brain, no stomach, heart on the wrong side, lots of defects in the heart, and you should terminate. And they said, no, we can't. And in fact, at one point, my son-in-law said, please give my son a chance. Just give him a chance. They said he would never live past the second trimester, but he did. Then they said, well, he won't live to term, which is 36 weeks. And 2 weeks ago, he was delivered on his 36-week birthday. His heart was remarkably on the right side. And he has a few little holes, but those are expected to close up, just like any baby's heart would when they're premature. And they determined that his actual age was probably about 32 weeks. So he's about a month, almost 2 months premature. He was born at 3 pounds, 2 ounces. He has a brain. In fact, his mother, when she was able to see him, she spoke to him, his eyes opened, and he looked at her, was searching for her. And then when his father walked into the room and was talking to the doctor, he looked that direction, trying to find his dad. And isn't that just like God? When he speaks to us, he says, my sheep hear my voice. Well, that's what he wants from us, is just to hear his voice. And so we know that he has brain. He heard his father, his mother's voice, and he reacted to that. He's very alert in that way. He doesn't have spina bifida. He doesn't have a club foot. He doesn't have cleft palate. He doesn't have hair lip. And in fact, they did another amniocentesis and decided that maybe he doesn't have full-on trisomy 18. It's just mosaic. Now, they're not backing away from their diagnosis, but one thing we do know that he does have, and this is not necessarily related to trisomy 18, because many children are born this way that aren't trisomy 18. They have what they call esophageal atresia, which means their esophagus and stomach are not connected. And so they are malnourished when they come from the womb. Not only are they malnourished, but their lungs are immature and underdeveloped. So those are the things now that we're praying for, is that he would have a most excellent mind, that he would begin to have this greater lung capacity, that he would be breathing on his own, and he is now breathing room air, not oxygen-enriched air, that his esophagus and stomach would grow together and that repair would be done. He is with a feeding tube right now, drinking his mother's milk that way, and every day they increase his feeding. He's up to 12 millimeters, started at 2, And he needs to get up to 24 millimeters. That's where he needs to be. So those are our prayers right now for little Benjamin Bruce. He is a miracle. He's a sweet, sweet baby, and you can see a picture of him. And we are just proclaiming that God is the one who gives life and takes life away, not Hillary Clinton. And it is not a matter of choice. This is a matter of life and death. And we just ask, just as God asked, to this day, I set before you life and death. Choose life. And that's what we're asking the whole medical community that is taking care of Benjamin, that they would choose life. We are asking our prayer warriors across the country, and in fact in some foreign countries who are praying for Ben, to pray that we begin to see, not only as a family, as a medical community, but as a country, that our Constitution gives us the right to life, and we should always choose life. Hillary Clinton, that's my message to you. You need to choose life. That's the right choice.
Well, you're in good company saying that to Hillary Clinton, because I believe Mother Teresa did the same. She said that one of the worst, it's an abomination, was abortion, and that you couldn't have peace if you were going to allow mothers to kill children in the womb. And she said that. I'm paraphrasing, but that you can certainly find that in direct language. But she did confront Hillary Clinton on the stage with that many, many years ago.
And isn't Mother Teresa a Catholic? Perhaps that's why Hillary Clinton has such a animosity toward the Catholic Church. Speak about that a little bit, Anna. You're directly affected by that.
I am Catholic. I was raised Catholic. I obviously participate in Christian fellowship as well, but I do believe in daily Mass, and I enjoy my Eucharist, and I do espouse the Catholic teachings as I was taught coming up, and there is nothing but positive and beneficial teachings in the Catholic faith, and the only reason Hillary Clinton would oppose the Catholic faith is because we do believe in life, and that it begins at the moment of conception. I extend that to fertilization. I certainly don't espouse any of the alternative ways of conceiving children, but I do believe life exists at the time that the egg and the sperm meet. But in Catholicism, we are to protect that life. It's very impossible, and this message should reach Tim Kaine. It is impossible to be a Catholic and be pro-abortion. And you, as a Catholic, you have an obligation to protect life at all stages, from the moment of conception, fertilization, until natural death. And so for Tim Kaine to say that he is personally pro-life, but he's not going to impose that on someone else, it's impossible to be a Catholic and declare that. So what
you're saying that Tim Kaine is doing the politically expedient thing by claiming his Catholicism.
That's right. And his Catholicism isn't true Catholicism if he truly believes what he's saying out loud. And the Catholic Conference of Bishops is very clear on that. While they have not personally directed their teachings at him by name, if you read the direction from the Catholic Conference of Bishops in the United States, they will indicate through their teaching that what he's doing is not permissible. So Catholics, take charge, get to the polls, and vote for life. And if you're voting pro-life, it is very clear who you must vote for in this election. I'm going to quickly go over our guests. We have just a minute to do that, so I'm going to rattle right through them. We've got Bob Karlstrom, who's a consultant to AMAC and president of the Karlstrom Group, LLC. He's going to talk to us about strong seniors, making America great again. And, of course, those seniors are supporting Trump. So that's at 3:35. We have Paul Caprio, who's going to talk to us. He's actually from Georgetown University, and he's going to talk to us about the One Nation Under God movement. And there is a One Nation Under God Foundation, and he's going to talk to us about that and the Family PAC Federal. So this is a very pro-life, pro-family show today. Do you want to share a word or two, Sharon, about Alan West?
Well, it's hard to not know Alan West. He introduced almost every segment of our show. And of course, he is a former congressman and has been 22 years a lieutenant colonel. But he's going to be talking to us about the debate. And Chris Wallace, how did he do it last Wednesday night? Here's my take. So you'll want to be tuned into this show. It's going to be fun.
That's great. And I'm going to take us into the break really quickly. And when we come back, we will have our first guest. So I'm Anna Little. That was Sharon Angle. We're both coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNCC 1360 in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, AM/FM 24/7. We'll be right back after this break.
Crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
Since 2011, we have been calling for a national commitment from all Americans to participate in an annual event to honor all of the victims and their families who suffered during and after the most devastating event to ever take place on American soil. We all remember those horrible scenes of destruction on September 11th, 2001 that unfolded right before our eyes, either up front or on television. We continue to ask every American to participate in the united action of prayer, which is simply to stop whatever you are doing at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or to offer a prayer to honor the memory of those who are directly affected by this unforgettable scene of destruction. Please include a prayer of thanks for living in a country where even something as horrific as 9/11 could not weaken our spirit. This year, we would like to ask one more thing as a show of unity since we are still fighting with the enemy who caused the 9/11 tragedy. Would you display the flag for the day at your home, on your car, bike, or anywhere you can display Old Glory? Let's show our enemies that we can still unite in our love for our country.
I'm Pastor Christina Lamanier. I'm a concerned mother and grandmother, and I urge you to vote for Donald Trump. Our Commander-in-Chief's highest priority is to secure the safety and freedom of Americans of every race, creed, and color. Trump will solve the ISIS crisis quickly and utilize the talents of people like Mayor Rudy Giuliani to restore law and order in our streets. Donald Trump will build the wall, secure our borders, and bring back jobs and prosperity to America by slashing taxes, cutting government waste, stamping out political correctness, harnessing our abundant natural resources, unleashing the patriotism and genius of we the people. Always remember, there is a special place in heaven for followers of Jesus Christ.
For more information, log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRA Super PAC paid for this ad and is solely responsible for its content, not authorized by any candidate or its committee.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired, as I am, about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Businessman there, drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Angle and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and CCRShow.com, or noon, RoarRadio.net, or at 11 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. I'm Anna Little. I'm co-hosting today with Sharon Angle. What a treat. I love co-hosting with Sharon Angle. And we are waiting for contact with our first guest. So, Sharon, we've been back and forth a little bit on Facebook messaging while the ads were playing on our commercial break. And I think we ought to clue in our listeners to some of the things we've been saying. I was commenting about Benjamin being a miracle, and that we should shout that from the mountaintops, that God performs miracles every day, and those of us who witness those miracles, we've got to proclaim them as miracles and tell everybody about them, but we also have to praise God for those miracles, and that will obviously increase and inspire more faith in the people that hear about them. Not every one of us is lucky to see miracles firsthand, and Sharon, you and Joy are seeing this miracle firsthand. And on the subject of Joy, that's Benjamin's mother, she's my hero because her faith and her courage has inspired me. And her mother, which is you, must have raised her properly because Joy's turning out to be a terrific mom right from the moment that she knew she had life within her, that she's been a very good mother, protecting her baby and fighting for every possible chance for this baby to receive what he needs from the medical community, from the world that he's about to enter, that he's now entered. So God definitely sent Benjamin to the right family. And I can't say enough about how inspirational this story is. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it's a humbling thing to know that God trusts you. That he would send something so precious because he knew he could trust you. We didn't do anything special. That's what's amazing, Anna, is Joy didn't do anything special. I didn't do anything special in raising her. All we did was chose life. God's very clear. He says, just choose life. When you have a choice to make, just choose life. And we need to get back to that in this country. There is right and wrong. We know there is. We know what we need to do. Our founders did it. They chose life. They said we have an inalienable right to life. And they chose life. It was Abraham Lincoln who chose life during the Civil War. That was a choice for life. We continue to be blessed by God when we choose life and just recognize that he is the author of life, that he's the one that decides when you're born and when you'll die. And we are so grateful to God that Benjamin was born at a time such as this, for a time such as this. So many people have lost hope for this nation, saying, why would you even want to bring children into a country that is so mixed up and messed up? But let's look at all the good things in this country. We have a medical community that really knows how to treat Benjamin. We couldn't have chosen life for him had not there been doctors who were willing to say, well, we can do this, and we can do this, and we can do this. And so when we say to them, choose life, we also say, and just do your very best. Because we know that it's not for their skill and the way that they have been going to school for so many years and taking on debt, we wouldn't even have had the opportunity to choose life for Ben. So, there's just a lot of things going on here that we're so grateful for and we're praising God for. As you said, when you start to witness miracles, you need to praise God and thank him for them. And like I said, if you want to follow me on Facebook, you can watch how this story is unfolding. It's every day we're getting more good news. In fact, when we went to the surgeons to get that feeding tube put in, it was a little surgery that Ben had to have. They started to talk to us again about all the things that could go wrong. And finally I just said, before he was born, we heard all the bad news. And since he's been born, it's been nothing but good news. And that's true, Anna. We've had nothing but good news. Every day when we go see that little boy, there's more good news.
Well, I think he's a strong little boy. And I think he's defying the odds because you've shown him love, Sharon. Joy has shown him love. And you've prayed to God, and God is rewarding those prayers. And God has a purpose for Benjamin. And every second that Benjamin is alive, he's showing us God's love and the fact that God is active in our life. And I can't express enough how inspiring it's been. I'm in New Jersey. You guys are out there in Nevada. I mean, it's pretty far away. I've traveled out to see you, and I'm inspired here. There are nearly 5,000 people on my Facebook page, and they've all got friends, and I've been sharing the story. And believe me, those pro-lifers that have plugged into my page, they're looking for stories like these. So you know that they're talking about it. And obviously, Sharon Engel, your name is known. So the conversation flows easily when you connect Benjamin through Joy to you. So I can't say enough about how very inspirational it's been. And with that, we've got to go to a break. So Sharon, I'm going to take us into that break. We are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios. WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .coms. I'm Anna Little, co-hosting with Sharon Engel today, and we'll be right back with you after this break.
They say I'm crazy, I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Since 2011, we have been calling for a national commitment from all Americans to participate in an annual event to honor all of the victims and their families who suffered during and after the most devastating event to ever take place on American soil. We all remember those horrible scenes of destruction on September 11th, 2001 that unfolded right before our eyes, either up front or on television. We continue to ask every American to participate in the united action of prayer, which is simply to stop whatever you are doing at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or to offer a prayer to honor the memory of those who are directly affected by this unforgettable scene of destruction. Please include a prayer of thanks for living in a country where even something as horrific as 9/11 could not weaken our spirit. This year, we would like to ask one more thing as a show of unity since we are still fighting with the enemy who caused the 9/11 tragedy. Would you display the flag for the day at your home, on your car, bike, or anywhere you can display Old Glory? Let's show our enemies that we can still unite in our love for our country.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharon Engel and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, CCRS Network and CCRShow.com, or noon, RoarRadio.net, and at 11 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Sharon Engel, we've been talking about your grandson, Benjamin, and I just wanted to bring up this point of the timing of Benjamin's birth. Here we have a presidential election, a very interesting and, shall we say, lively presidential election. And in the center, I would say at the forefront of this election, is the right to life issue. And yes, here is Benjamin born right in the middle of it. Do you want to speak to that?
Well, I think you said it very well, Anna. And I think we started out the program with this, that this last debate really defined the issue. And I know that more and more people across America are becoming aware that life is precious and that what we have done for over 30 years, going on 40 years now, is kill off generations of Americans in the womb. And they are now beginning to say, that was wrong, I'm going to choose life. And they are now starting, even if they have been abortion advocates in the past, they are now starting to put limits on how far that their support for abortion goes. Many are just so disgusted, and really it becomes, how can you do this? It's just abhorrent to us to think of partial birth abortion where babies' brains are sucked out and they are full-term babies. I mean, it's mind-boggling that our culture would think that was okay. And in fact, they have said it isn't okay. We have begun to win some real victories in the fight for life because people are finally beginning to realize that we're talking about human beings, we're talking about human life, we are talking about precious lives, and we're starting to stand up for them. So I think that's why it has become the pivotal issue of this campaign. And it was interesting, that Donald Trump said, if you go with what Hillary is saying in the 9th month, you can rip the baby out of the womb of the mother right up to the last day. Now, they did a fact check on that, and they said that Clinton does not support such an extreme view on abortion, nor have courts ever ruled such a late-term operation legal or suggested that they would. States vary on how late they allow abortions, ranging from a ban 6 weeks after a woman's last menstrual period in North Dakota to 3 states with third trimester abortion bans. There are 9 states without specific term prohibitions, but clinics do not abort at such late terms. Only 1.2% of abortions occur after 21 weeks, according to the nonprofit Guttmacher Institute. I thought that was interesting, the way that fact checker is trying to cover over her very words, really. And you heard her, I've heard her. I didn't think she put any restrictions on it at all. And she supports the funding of Planned Parenthood. What are we to gather from all of that, but that she, if we can get laws that advance the killing of babies even beyond birth, would she be for that? As you pointed out in the first segment, Barack Obama is.
Yeah, and Sharon, I heard her reference limitations, but based upon the mother's health and well-being. She gives no right to the child in the womb. She does not give any constitutional rights to the child in the womb. Her interpretation of the Constitution is faulty because life is a human right. Life is a human right. And there is no denying that the child in the womb is human. The DNA required for that child to grow exists at the moment that the egg is fertilized. Nothing else is needed. The environment of the womb is needed to incubate. Food and nutrients are necessary. But the baby is a baby at that moment and will grow, if undisturbed, on his or her own. So Hillary Clinton is extreme and she's wrong. And this is the election in which we need to speak up as a people for our most vulnerable members of this society. I had the honor of speaking in front of my church gathering. It's the annual Holy Name Society brunch, which is our celebration for our particular parish, which is our congregation, for lack of a better term. And I did have the opportunity to speak about life. And I've had some experiences myself, nothing as monumental as what's going on with Benjamin. But I did get the opportunity to refer to some scripture, Sharon, and I want to share that with our listeners today, because in case you wonder what God thinks about all of this, He has told us already in the Bible. And I cited just 3, but there are many more examples in the Bible. And I would challenge you to go and find those examples where God tells us in Scripture that the child in the womb is indeed a child and a human being. In Genesis chapter 16, verse 11, he says, "Behold," said he, "thou art with child, not thou art with fetus. Thou art with child, and thou shalt bring forth a son, and thou shalt call his name Ismael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction." That's Genesis chapter 13, verse 11. Another example is in Psalm 127, verse 3. "Truly children are a gift from the Lord. The fruit of the womb is a reward." The fruit of the womb is a child, according to that scripture. And in Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I consecrated you." God has consecrated the children in the womb. They belong to him. We may not disturb that. We must protect life at that stage. God has already consecrated it. I don't know what else we need to say, because I am a woman of faith, and when I read that in the Bible, it's clear to me. Sharon, what about you?
It's very clear to me. And as you point out, that's why my daughter did not make any other choice, is because it was very clear to her and her husband that God gave them this baby for a reason. And as you point out, he's already served a wonderful purpose just in being born. So many people have seen the miracle that God performs. We need to have miracles. We're a country without hope, and miracles give us hope. We can see that God's hand is still very prevalent in this country. No matter how our government is going, God is still here, and we can still hear his voice if we do what he asks us to do. And he's very clear. He says, choose life. Choose life. This day I set before you life and death. Choose life. He's also given us such precious promises, and we speak these over Benjamin every day. We speak a few words over him just to strengthen him. We know that his ears are good. His spirit is, of course, eternal, and so we know that he may be a small babe, but his spirit understands the Word of God. We speak that he can do all things through Christ who strengthens him, that his God will supply all his needs according to the riches and glory of Christ Jesus, that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And we do believe that Ben is called for a purpose that God intends, and that by his stripes he is healed, that by Jesus' stripes each one of us can claim healing, not only for our spirits, but also in some cases for our bodies. And we have been speaking the love of Jesus over him. And we know that God is not willing that any should perish, but all have everlasting life. So we're just believing God's word. We're standing in his righteousness, and it's not of any goodness of our own. God has shown us exactly what we need to do, and it's purely an act of obedience when we protect the life that he's given us.
And obedient we should be. I think I want to just add and challenge our listeners to live your life out loud. You're a people of faith. We are pro-life. We need to live our life out loud. Don't be concerned about dictating to others. The death-oriented point of view is out there in full force. The mainstream media is protecting it and proclaiming it. We've got to live our lives out loud, and we've got to make our viewpoint known. And early Christians proclaimed their faith under a penalty of death. We're not risking nearly as much as they did. Be courageous. State the truths about your beliefs. Live your life out loud. All opinions should be voiced. Be respectful to others who differ. But to know a differing opinion exists is a strength, and it does not harm anyone. And we've got to meet that obligation to proclaim what we know to be the truth. I live in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in the womb. We are one body in Christ, and if one of us is hurting, we are all hurting. We may not allow the extermination of these children anymore. We cannot allow it anymore. And this is the election. We have to absolutely stand up for these children, and we've got to do it by voting in this election. We've got to go to
you're right, Annalita.
We've got to go to a break, Sharon. Look how that happens to us.
That's right.
So, listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. They're all .com. I'm Anna Little, co-hosting today with the one and only Sharon Engel. We'll be right back after this break.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
Since 2011, we have been calling for a national commitment from all Americans to participate in an annual event to honor all of the victims and their families who suffered during and after the most devastating event to ever take place on American soil. We all remember those horrible scenes of destruction on September 11th, 2001 that unfolded right before our eyes, either up front or on television. We continue to ask every American to participate in the united action of prayer, which is simply to stop whatever you are doing at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or to offer a prayer to honor the memory of those who are directly affected by this unforgettable scene of destruction. Please include a prayer of thanks for living in a country where even something as horrific as 9/11 could not weaken our spirit. This year, we would like to ask one more thing as a show of unity since we are still fighting with the enemy who caused the 9/11 tragedy. Would you display the flag for the day at your home, on your car, bike, or anywhere you can display Old Glory? Let's show our enemies that we can still unite in our love for our country.
I'm Pastor Christina Lamanier. I'm a concerned mother and grandmother, and I urge you to vote for Donald Trump. Our Commander-in-Chief's highest priority is to secure the safety and freedom of Americans of every race, creed, and color. Trump will solve the ISIS crisis quickly and utilize the talents of people like Mayor Rudy Giuliani to restore law and order in our streets. Donald Trump will build the wall, secure our borders, and bring back jobs and prosperity to America by slashing taxes, cutting government waste, stamping out political correctness, harnessing our abundant natural resources, unleashing the patriotism and genius of we the people. Always remember, there is a special place in heaven for followers of Jesus Christ.
For more information, log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRA Super PAC paid for this ad and is solely responsible for its content, not authorized by any candidate or its committee.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We're establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired as I am about the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on WNJC Radio 1360 a.m. or around the world on the internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioNetwork.com and CCRN.com for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where even more newsmakers go to be heard. From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios. WNJC 1360. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos radio show, where the newsmakers go to be heard. Businessman there, drink my wine. You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Sharon Engel. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, CCRS Network, and CCRShow.com, or at noon, RoarRadio.net, and at 11 p.m., HighPlainsDailyNews.com. And now you can listen to the Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. Our next guest is with us, and the honor of the introduction is mine. Paul Caprio is the principal at Paul Caprio and Associates, but he has extensive professional background. In 1979, he worked with the Phil Crane for President Committee. In 1980, he established Paul Caprio and Associates. He has been engaged by more than 50 candidates seeking political office at the federal and the state political levels in Illinois and Texas. And since 1992, Caprio has been the director of Family PAC, the leading conservative political action committee in the state. His clients have included the late William F. Buckley's Firing Line program on PBS, Teach America, and the late Dr. Milton Friedman and Taxpayers United of Illinois. And in 2002, Caprio formed One Nation Under God Foundation, a 501c3 committee to conduct a statewide church voter registration project. More than 500 churches participated. Over 40,000 new voters were registered. Paul Caprio, welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you for having me, Anna.
Well, thank you for joining us. And, you know, I really am excited to talk to you about your One Nation Under God Foundation. Tell our listeners, what is this organization all about?
Well, this is an organization that we initially set up here in Illinois 14 years ago to both increase Christian participation, both by way of registration and education in politics. we were largely confined to Illinois until about 4 years ago, and we have gradually got involved in campaigns in other states, helping pro-family organizations and pro-life organizations to get pastors and churches in their states involved in politics, involved in doing voter registration, involved in getting out voter guides, radio on Christian radio stations and other stations such as your own. And I understand, is Sharon Engel there with you today?
Sharon, jump on in.
Hi, stranger.
Hello, Paul.
I haven't talked to Sharon Engel for a long time. Hello.
Hello, Paul. I was just telling Anna over our little back communication how helpful you were to me in 2010. It's been a long time since we talked, but I was so happy to hear you were going to be on the show today.
Well, it's good to hear your voice again. But anyway, getting back to what we're doing, so we became especially active last year after the Supreme Court same-sex marriage decision. We sent a mailing out to about 65,000 Bible-based churches in the United States, showing them how to do voter registration. We have partnered with David Barton from Wall Builders, who has done a wonderful religious freedom video for us, which we have been able to get into thousands of churches. And we also have something called the Declaration of Religious Independence that we've encouraged pastors to have their members sign and send in to their congressman last year. And this year we have been working on the same general scope. We've been especially active, in addition to Illinois, in both Ohio and North Carolina. And we have done mailings to pastors in those churches. We have helped fund Christian organizations that are putting out voter guides in both those churches, and we've gotten wonderful cooperation and support. And, you know, when they talk about GOTV, at least on the Republican side, most of what you're talking about is what is done by the Christian community. NRA does quite a bit, I want to say, but most of the actual get out the vote work, registration of new voters, getting voters educated on the issues, most of this is done through the Christian community in this country. And I want to make that statement because I hear quite a bit said sometimes by, you know, the Republican Party officials about we're trying to do this, that, and the other thing. But in terms of working on the ground and the grassroots, and I know there are other groups, and Sharon is very familiar with some of the other groups that have been involved from her experience in Nevada. But you know, that's what we've been doing, and we've just completed 77 church voter registration drives in the state of Ohio, for instance. And so it's been keeping us pretty busy. But I would like to say this about our views, because as you know, this is an election year where both of the presidential candidates have extremely high negatives. They're viewed as personally flawed on both sides by the majority of voters. But for a Christian, we have to establish two things. Number one, that there is a biblical duty to vote. It's based on what Jesus says in Luke 20:22-25. And it's a quote that almost every Christian knows. It's almost self-evident, where he says, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's." And notice that he said it's plural, the things. In Jesus' time, we didn't have democratically elected government. We had kings and rulers. So the duty of an individual was very confined, because there was no voting, there was no right to vote, no duty to vote. But we should be model citizens as Christians. We have a lot of duties. We have the duty to pay tax, not only pay taxes, we have the duty to serve in the military if required. We have this duty to serve on juries. And yes, we have the duty to vote. And then the question becomes, if you have a duty to vote, how do you go about evaluating what candidate as a Christian you should vote for? And we believe the first question Christian voters should be asking, especially this year, is who will protect my religious liberties in this country? And then, obviously, there are a number of host issues and related issues. There's the issue of how is this done? And we then talk about the Supreme Court. We talk about statements candidates have made basically to attempt to destroy our religious liberties. I happen to be looking at a statement, for instance, that Hillary Clinton made recently. It's very short. I'm going to quote her. She says, "Deep-seated cultural codes, religious beliefs, and structural biases have to be changed for the sake of giving women access to reproductive health care and safe childbirth." Now, I don't know how anyone would interpret that statement other than to say that we're going to have to abolish crisis pregnancy centers. We're going to have to outlaw picketing at abortion clinics. And we're going to have to go even further than that in terms of trying to restrict freedom of speech in our churches.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more, Paul. This is the central issue to this election. Sharon and I were talking about that before we had you on. Can you hold on for just 2 minutes? We've got to do a quick commercial break. We want to bring you back and continue talking about this issue.
Sure.
Okay, just hang on. Listeners, we are coming to you live from the Conservative Commando Radio's network studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. Those are all .com. We're speaking this segment with Paul Caprio, and I'm Anna Little. Karen Engels, my co-host, will be right back with you after this break.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but I...
The Conservative Commandos radio show is expanding to become the Conservative Commandos radio network. We are establishing a front line of conservative radio broadcasters and ironclad patriots to declare war against the madness of liberalism and the Obama administration. Are you tired of the disregard for our Constitution? Do you still have faith in the American dream? Are you looking for sensible, smart radio? If so, listen to the Conservative Commandos radio network every weekday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on WNJC Radio, 1360 on your AM dial, or around the world on the Internet at WNJCradio.com. Check out our website, CCRSnetwork.com, for rebroadcasts and network updates. We are the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, where now even more newsmakers go to be heard.
Since 2011, we have been calling for a national commitment from all Americans to participate in an annual event to honor all of the victims and their families who suffered during and after the most devastating event to ever take place on American soil. We all remember those horrible scenes of destruction on September 11th, 2001 that unfolded right before our eyes, either up front or on television. We continue to ask every American to participate in the united action of prayer, which is simply to stop whatever you are doing at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or to offer a prayer to honor the memory of those who are directly affected by this unforgettable scene of destruction. Please include a prayer of thanks for living in a country where even something as horrific as 9/11 could not weaken our spirit. This year, we would like to ask one more thing as a show of unity, since we are still fighting with the enemy who caused the 9/11 tragedy. Would you display the flag for the day at your home, on your car, bike, or anywhere you can display Old Glory? Let's show our enemies that we can still unite in our love for our country.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando radio show.
You are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and Sharon Engel and our special guest, Paul Caprio. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com, or at noon you can log on to roarradio.net. At 11 p.m. you can go to highplainsdailynews.com. And now you can listen to Conservative Commandos from any phone by calling 832-999-1199. We've been talking with Paul Caprio about Christians voting and why they should vote and who they should vote for and why it's not just a suggestion. You know, Paul, I found it very interesting that you talked a little bit about Christians should be voting, and it's not really just a suggestion that you have a privilege to vote. This is their duty and a right. Talk to us a little bit about why Christians need to get involved this time.
Well, you know, Jesus says, you are the light of the world. He doesn't say in the Bible, you can become the light. I'm going to give you the potential to be the light of the world. He says, you are. When I died, you became the light of the world. So if we as Christians are the light of the world, then that means we have to go out and influence in the way Jesus would want us to the world at large. It's not appropriate to, sit in a church and simply say, I'm going to pray about it. I don't like what's going on in this country. I don't like the attack on traditional marriage. I don't like the 47 million abortions that have taken place in this country since Roe v. Wade. I don't like any of that. I'm just going to say a prayer about it, and then I'm just going to go about my business. That's not good enough. That's not what Jesus tells us our duty is. We have to go out, and I want to say something else, because I know there are a few pastors out there who are critical of Christians who get involved in politics and say things like, we need to be building up the church, we have to be doing evangelism. I have seen a lot of evangelism done, Anna and Sharon, through political activity by Christians. I mean, our chairman, Reverend Robert Vandenbosch, who has a network of about 150 Baptist churches in the state of Illinois, they have in Springfield a legislative Bible study every week. They invite everyone to it. It's not simply Christians. It's people who are legislators who are hurting, who need advice, who need prayer, who need guidance. This is what leads to evangelism. I mean, people are attracted to Christians because they are the light. That's how people get attracted. It's not some speech that someone, gives to someone who they barely even know. It's because they see people who are different, who have the light of Christ glowing in their life. And so that's why it's important. We have to get out in the world. Now, it doesn't mean everyone's got to be spending all their time in the area of politics. There are Christians in all kinds of different areas, the arts, literature. We could go on and on and on. Whatever God has led you to do in your life, radio broadcasting, and the media. But the point is, we are not meant to be in some cocoon that is totally divorced from the culture as a whole.
Well, and I think that you make a good point that Hillary Clinton actually wants us to stay inside the church so much so that if we get outside those church boundaries, they're going to pull their separation of church and state card on us and keep us from really engaging in our culture and engaging in the political debate, if you will. I know that I had serious consequences when Christians don't vote. I ran in a primary this year for the U.S. Senate, and only 18% of Christians voted. We cannot allow that to happen in our culture unless we want to just completely give up our religious freedoms. If only 18% of us really care what's going on, we're going to find ourselves in a situation that 1935 Germany found themselves in, where people said, well, it's just not my problem. I'm going to just be the Christian that I need to be and watch what happens. Well, we know that what happened was when they came for the Jews, I did not object. I think we heard that old saying along.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more.
But what we're getting to here, Paul, is that there are serious consequences when Christians do not engage their culture.
Well, that's right. And, I just couldn't agree with you more. I mean, people, unfortunately, sometimes have a tendency to say, well, presidential elections, politics, it really doesn't concern me and my life. But, and so it doesn't concern many people until it immediately affects their life. They don't have any interest in politics. Then they lose their insurance policy, they wind up with Obamacare, and then they find out, their premium's going up 45-50%. And then you know what? Then politics does affect their life, doesn't it? Because it affects their pocketbook.
It certainly does, but here's another one. How about the other day I walk into the ladies' room and there's a man? And I have nothing to say about this. I feel violated. I feel like I have no privacy, and I feel like, wow, I'm not even safe. And what if I had my children with me? They're not safe. I don't want to meet a man in the ladies' room. And
this is so ironic that you just said this, because I don't know if you remember this. You and I and Phyllis Schlafly had a meeting in a New York hotel shortly after you had won the nomination, I think. And I got up to go to the restroom, and I didn't see any sign or anything on it. I just walked in, and who was in there but a woman? And I said, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong restroom. She says to me, no, you're not. We have stalls here. That is the first time when I was having lunch with you and Phyllis that I came face to face with the issue of same-sex restrooms. I don't know if you remember that.
Just our whole culture is upside down right now, Paul, because we as Christians have stood back too many times and allowed these things to just come into our culture. And then we wonder, what are we going to do about it? Well, right now we have an opportunity to do something, Paul Caprio, and you're telling us what to do. Tell us exactly what to do. Don't mince any words. Tell us what we have to do and who we have to support. Tell us.
Well, first of all, let me say this. Now the One Nation Under God Foundation is a C3, so we don't endorse candidates. We focus, as I say, on biblical duty to vote, and then we talk about a whole variety of different issues that are very important to Christians, what the positions of candidates are on both of those issues. So, my direction is more to educate people. I think we're in a long battle here to protect the country. I don't think the battle is over on November 8th. And I also think that young people today, our high school students, are not being taught the history of our country. They're not being told the truth, if they're told anything at all. 15-year-old boys are not being told, no, you're not supposed to be having sex with a 14-year-old girl in your class. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to use a condominium. And you see, when you have a society like that, it's beyond simply the issue of saying this is the better candidate in an election. We have to change the society from the bottom up. Now, having said that, to me, it's very self-evident if you're going to evaluate the presidential election from a Christian perspective, I don't know how you would come to any conclusion other than to vote for Donald Trump. And you can start off by saying you think the personal...
We've got to go to break, Paul. We've got to finish this segment. You are working with One Nation Under God Foundation. That's at oneundergod.com, #oneundergod.com. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so we need you listeners to plug in there. And Paul, please come back and see us again soon.
Thank you both for having me. I've really enjoyed it. Great to hear your voice, Sharon.
Thanks, Paul. Great to hear you, too. Thank you so much for being on the show.
And we'll have you back again soon. And listeners, that was Paul Caprio of One Nation Under God Foundation. Find them at #oneundergod.com. We're coming to you live from Conservative Commandos Radio Network Studios, WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, around the world on the Internet with American Patriots Broadcasting, TalkStream Live, SHR Media, K98 Talk, iHeartRadio, and AM/FM 24/7. We'll be right back after this break.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but
This is Rick Trader, host of the Conservative Commandos radio show.
And I'm John Forsyth, owner of WNJC Radio. Fellow patriots, the Conservative Commandos radio show is for conservatives, about conservatives, and by conservatives.
We are patriots who want to take our country back from the likes of Barack Obama, Harry Reid, George Soros, and Nancy Pelosi.
But we can't keep up this fight without your critical support today. Can you help? Please go to www.helpccrs.com right now and make a donation by credit card or PayPal. That's www.helpccrs.com.
Our goal is to expose the liberal agenda and distortions. We are fighting to spread the truth about political issues, political leaders, and conservative issues and values.
Our hosts are not paid. In fact, we buy our own airtime, studio time, and pay our own expenses.
We created the show because we are trying to make a difference. So can you help the CCRS expose the truth in 2014 and beyond? Go to www.helpccrs.com.
Help keep the Conservative Commandos radio show on the air by going to www.helpccrs.com and make a donation today to return our country to the conservative roots created by our founding fathers.
Since 2011, we have been calling for a national commitment from all Americans to participate in an annual event to honor all of the victims and their families who suffered during and after the most devastating event to ever take place on American soil. We all remember those horrible scenes of destruction on September 11th, 2001 that unfolded right before our eyes, either up front or on television. We continue to ask every American to participate in the united action of prayer, which is simply to stop whatever you are doing at precisely 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. to either observe 1 minute of silence or to offer a prayer to honor the memory of those who are directly affected by this unforgettable scene of destruction. Please include a prayer of thanks for living in a country where even something as horrific as 9/11 could not weaken our spirit. This year, we would like to ask one more thing as a show of unity since we are still fighting with the enemy who caused the 9/11 tragedy. Would you display the flag for the day at your home, on your car, bike, or anywhere you can display Old Glory? Let's show our enemies that we can still unite in our love for our country.
I'm Pastor Christina Lamanier. I'm a concerned mother and grandmother, and I urge you to vote for Donald Trump. Our Commander-in-Chief's highest priority is to secure the safety and freedom of Americans of every race, creed, and color. Trump will solve the ISIS crisis quickly and utilize the talents of people like Mayor Rudy Giuliani to restore law and order in our streets. Donald Trump will build the wall, secure our borders, and bring back jobs and prosperity to America by slashing taxes, cutting government waste, stamping out political correctness, harnessing our abundant natural resources, unleashing the patriotism and genius of we the people. Always remember, there is a special place in heaven for followers of Jesus Christ.
For more information, log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRA Super PAC paid for this ad and is solely responsible for its content, not authorized by any candidate or its committee.
If you'd like to hear a broadcast of today's show, please check out our website, ccrsnetwork.com, ccrshow.com. At noontime, you can tune into Roar Radio, and at 11 p.m., you can log on to highplainsdailynews.com, or you can call 832-999-1199. This is Conservative Commando's radio show with Sharon Engel, Anna Little, and our special guest is Alan West. For 22 years, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West served his country in the U.S. Army, and from 2010 to 2012, he served our country and the 22nd District of Florida in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman West now is a Fox News contributor, a senior fellow at the London Center for Policy Research, and regularly writes for numerous media outlets, including the Washington Times, Breitbart.com, and PJ Media. Congressman West is also president and CEO of the National Center for Policy Analysis. We are honored to welcome Congressman Alan West back to Conservative Commando's radio show. Welcome, Alan.
Hey, Sharon, how are you doing? And Anna?
Well, we're great, and we want to use your time as wisely as we can. You wrote an article, How Did He Do It, last Wednesday night, and here's my take. Tell us, how did he do it, and what are you talking about? Who's the he?
Well, talking about the debate that was Wednesday night, I think that there were some missed opportunities that Mr. Trump had that could have really hammered some key points on Hillary Clinton, especially when you think about all the topics really played to his strengths, being it immigration, the debt, foreign hotspots, Supreme Court, and fitness to be president. I tell you, when you talk about fitness to be president, you know, I would have just said very simply, if this country elects Hillary Clinton to the presidency of the United States of America, you will have just institutionalized criminal behavior at the highest office in this land. So I would say I'd give him a C. But what really came out of the evening was that, you know, Hillary Clinton just once again gave people many a reason to vote against her because she really avoided talking whatsoever about any of the corruption issues that she had.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And, you know, you make a very good point in your article about James O'Keefe's Project Veritas and how he's been exposing the fraud in our election or the corruption in our elections. Do you think this is going to play an important part in our elections, or do you think it's nothing to worry about?
Well, I think that it will play a part, and I think that it is something to worry about. I know that your mainstream liberal progressive media is trying to hide the issue, but it is very big on the Internet, and there is a concern about the legitimacy and the integrity of our electoral process here in the United States of America. Look, 4 years ago, in my congressional election, we sat there and we watched about a 4,000 to 5,000 vote shift at 1 o'clock in the morning, and we also know that, you know, there were certain voter precincts in St. Lucie County that had, over 100% voter turnout. I have heard about people giving 110% effort, but I didn't think you could have over 100% voter turnout.
Well, I know that we have an issue here in Nevada. We found that there was a corruption of the election in 2010 when I ran against Harry Reid of 9.3%, which means that if you didn't have a 10% lead, you couldn't win an election in Nevada, and we're a battleground state. So I'm glad that you brought this to our attention, that there is a real issue, and really the only true way we can fight against this is to get big voter turnout, because the more people that actually legitimately vote, the more you can dilute what is an erroneous vote, or in some cases dead people voting. I was talking to John Eastman, who said 35,000 dead people are voting in California this year.
Yeah, it's amazing that there is a margin of cheating that you have to be outside of. You can ask former Senator Norm Coleman about it up there in Minnesota when he ran against Al Franken. You just talked about cleaning up voter rolls. And there's a reason why in most of these blue states they refuse to clean up the voter rolls. But yet we continually hear from the voices of the left about voter suppression just because, you want to have picture ID. But, you think about, how many places can you go in the United States of America without picture ID? Obviously, the airlines are racist because you have to show a picture ID to go with your boarding of any aircraft to go through TSA. Many buildings in New York City and Washington, D.C. But yet we know that in California, they're allowing illegal immigrants to have driver's licenses. So that means they'll show up, they'll show a picture ID, and the next thing you know, they're allowed to vote.
Well, so let's go now. We've really hammered home the reason you got to get out and you got to vote this time in large numbers, so that we can kind of dilute this corruption that's going on in our election system. But let's go to who we're going to vote for now. You said that Donald got a C because he missed some opportunities. Talk about the opportunities he missed in the debate and how those things could have been corrected, or maybe some points he should have made.
Well, first of all, when they talked about the foreign hotspots, I would have, quickly interjected that we wouldn't be talking about foreign hotspots if it weren't for the failure of Hillary Clinton when she was Secretary of State. And look at what is going on with the quote-unquote retaking of Mosul, when Mosul was already taken, but she was part of the greatest strategic blunder ever to withdraw all of our troops out of Iraq. When it came to immigration, I would have simply just said, Hillary Clinton will be the Angela Merkel of the United States of America. And look at what has happened with the Syrian refugees that were just flooded into that country. And Hillary wants to, 3 or 4-fold increase the amount of Syrian refugees that we have here in the United States of America. And either we are a sovereign nation or we are not. And first and foremost, we must secure our borders. And when they started to talk about the debt and they talked about entitlement programs, once again, they should have said one of the key things is that people here illegally should not be receiving taxpayer-funded benefits. And I think that is a major way that we start to get the entitlement spending, the mandatory spending of Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security under control. And then when you talk about the Supreme Court, I think that Mr. Trump needed to definitively state that this is about, our rule of law. It is not a living Constitution. And I would have brought up the case where the Supreme Court, had ruled that the individual mandate was not consistent with the Commerce Clause, but yet the Chief Justice Roberts still went ahead and granted the Congress an incredible amount of taxation power, so that now the federal government can use taxation as a means for behavior modification. So I think that when you get real specific and you talk about some of these issues in a way that the American people can easily grasp, I think that's how you make the kill stroke.
Well, I know that Anna Letta wants to jump in here, so go, Anna.
I sure do. Alan, I've been listening to you, and I just can't stop thinking about how Hillary Clinton has this mission to deflect and to distract us from her record. And I know you have particular expertise on what's going on, the dynamics of the Middle East, and I know that goes to her record. I can't stop thinking about Benghazi, Libya as an example of what she'll do in her presidency. Talk to us about how important it is to have a strong president in the White House and what those dynamics in the Middle East mean for us here living in the United States.
Well, sure. There are two things that should automatically disqualify Hillary Clinton from being the president or commander-in-chief. First and foremost, if you have, been extremely careless in handling classified information, you should no longer have a security clearance. And that should negate her from being, the commander-in-chief. We have a 4-star general, General Cartwright, who is facing charges for doing, something far, 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 far less than what Hillary Clinton did. He's, again, a 4-star general, so we cannot have this us and them type of, mentality. The commander-in-chief has to be held to the same standards as the young men and women that are out there handling classified information. And the other thing is that we cannot have a commander-in-chief that would abandon Americans to die, deny them security equipment and resources, and then be part of a false narrative about the existence of Islamic terrorism there and the attack that happened in Benghazi. So when I think about Hillary Clinton, I look and see someone that, to me, has utter disdain for our men and women in uniform. And one of the silliest comments that she made was that she would institute a no-fly zone over Syria. Well, that's about as dumb as you can get when you think about the convoluted airspace that you already have over Syria with Russian, with not Iranian, but Syrian, with Turkish, and on occasion Israeli aircraft. And you're going to try to maintain a no-fly zone in that area? And when she was asked about the potential of an American aircraft being shot down because the Russians have deployed the very lethal S-300 surface-to-air missile system, she seemed completely dumbfounded. So this is not a person that should be sitting there as commander-in-chief. I know that she likes to go back and talk about how when she was there they got Osama bin Laden, but that has nothing to do with stopping Islamic terrorism.
That's right. It goes much beyond Osama bin Laden, and we see that now. But, I don't think she's ignorant. I think she is inept. But I do think she's intelligent about what she's doing, and I think she's deflecting us. When she talks about a no-fly zone,
I would not call her intelligent. I would call her crafty. I would call her very savvy. But there are so many gaps that she has, and when we look at what is happening with Obamacare right now, I would just make the tie with Hillary Claire, something that she tried to bring forth as a first lady. What are her accomplishments as a senator? She talks about, taking care of women and taking care of families. Well, women, small business owners are suffering. Families in the United States of America are suffering. And she wants to continue on these same failed economic policies. So you have to have that killer instinct when you're sitting there dealing with someone that's trying to deflect, that's trying to obfuscate, that's trying to deny, that's trying to lie. When the point was brought up about $6 billion that were missing from the State Department, she said that story's been debunked. That's not a story. That was a report from the State Department IG about the improper filing of contracts while she was there at the State Department. $6 billion. So, again, you have to be able to hammer that point home.
Yeah, and I think she's crafty, as you say, in that she has a purpose. It's just not in support of the United States of America. There is an ulterior motive here, and it just smacks me when I listen to her. So at this point in time, I think we have to look at her as a detriment to the United States, and that we've got to vote for the other guy, in my opinion. What is yours?
Well, you're absolutely right. We've got 4 choices. Jill Stein, to me, is not a viable choice. Green energy is not going to restore our economy. Gary Johnson is not a viable choice. Anyone that just stops smoking dope just to run for president and doesn't know where Aleppo is shows me that he's completely tuned out. Hillary Clinton, like I said, Hillary Clinton is the institutionalization of criminal behavior. She is the epitome of corruption and the political establishment elite class of Washington, D.C. So the person that I will cast my vote for, that I will pray that he will be successful and surround himself with the right type of people in his cabinet, is Donald Trump.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I know your time is limited. Is there some final words that you want to leave with our listeners with regard to where to follow you and and what their mission should be going forward in directing this government in the United States?
Well, it's very simple. I hear a lot of people talking about how they're going to sit home and they're not going to, go out and vote. There was a song by Rush called Free Will, and it says, if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. If you sit this thing out, you're voting for Hillary Clinton. So we need to vote for our Constitution. We need to vote for the restoration of this constitutional republic. And there's only one candidate out of the four that gives us a chance at stopping this freight train of progressive socialism, secular humanism, and Islamic jihadism. And that's Donald Trump. And, we'll go from there.
Terrific. Colonel Alan West, former Congressman Alan West, thank you so very much for spending this time with us on Conservative Commando's radio show. You've got to come back and see us again soon, and we are still using you in our promo every single show.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Anna, and I'll be happy to come back anytime.
Okay, so listeners, that was Colonel Alan West, former Congressman Alan West, telling us about the debate, his take. Vote for Donald Trump, he says, and Hillary Clinton is a detriment to the United States. We cannot allow her to have the presidency. He did say he's going to pray on it. Sharon, any comments on what we've heard from Colonel Alan West?
Well, just that I think that we need to point our listeners to the article that Alan West wrote. It's How Did He Do It Last Wednesday Night? Here's my take by Alan West. And I think that it's one of those that you won't have wasted your time if you take a look at the article, because he really kind of skimmed over it quickly here on our show. But he goes into all of those things that he talked about in a little more detail, telling us just exactly what's going on with Hillary Clinton and why we're not safe with her. And in fact, we really do not have a choice in our voting this year. We must vote for Donald Trump if we really care about our country, our safety, and our future.
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned the article, because I'm looking at it right now, and he does focus in on the subject of the Supreme Court there. And he says that on the issue of abortion, it's not about women's rights, it's about killing our unborn. So he's spot on there. He does say that Trump could have done a better job addressing Hillary Clinton's position, who once stated that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare, which was the original intent. But now it's a death industry, and Obama's position on infanticide should have been used to put Clinton in a tough situation. But Hillary Clinton also talked about reversing the Heller versus D.C., and that has to do with our Second Amendment rights. So, I mean, he really lays out Hillary Clinton in this article. You've got to read it, listeners.
Well, I found it to be, just like Alan, he's very precise. He doesn't use a lot of words. He uses good words, and you don't have to wade through a lengthy dissertation on it to get to the point. He's just very clear about what he's telling us about Hillary Clinton. And
we should
he's
trust
right.
him.
Just like Paul Caprio was right. If we care about this country and the direction we're going and our Constitution, we have no choice but to get registered to vote and go and vote for Donald Trump.
Absolutely. And we should trust Alan West, because he did defend us for a long time. He's very on top of what's going on in the Middle East. He knows that dynamic. He knows which leader will get us through what we're dealing with over there. And he's solidly behind Donald Trump. You heard him.
Well, that's right. And I know that a lot of people want to say, well, Donald didn't do a very good job. And of course, Alan didn't excuse his debate performance. He just said he could have said it better, and he could have. But Alan West has said it better. There's really no excuse. We can't say that we're not voting for Donald Trump because there really is no other choice. We have to vote for Donald Trump. And regardless of the things that you see that are as concerns, I think you just have to put those aside, because we really do have our country at stake here. And as you mentioned, and as Alan mentioned, the the biggest thing is those Supreme Court justices. If we don't have someone proposing good nominees for the Supreme Court, we know that there's not enough courage, if you will, in the Congress and the U.S. Senate to turn down someone that Hillary Clinton may have in mind.
Yep. He did also touch on the economic policy in his article. He talked about how Mrs. Clinton would add another tax bracket to the already punitive individual structure. I'm reading his words. That she increases corporate and business tax rates along with instituting an exit tax to prevent corporate inversions. So why would anyone want to have their business in America if we follow through on what she wants to put in place? And then she wants to lower the threshold on the death tax. And that is not going to grow our economy. It's not going to create jobs. She talks about Obama's cutting the deficits, but in his first 4 years, he ran up deficits from $1 trillion to $1.4 trillion. So sure, now he can cut them, but he's still going to be in excess of what it was when he walked in the door. So, you know, he's basically laying her out on every issue, and I think it's a terrific article.
It is. I think the last piece where he says, I found it interesting that Hillary Clinton talked about how this election is about what kind of a country we will be. If Hillary Clinton wins the presidency, it means we have seriously institutionalized criminality and criminal behavior at the highest level. We will have members of a cabinet that may be under investigation. Well, not exactly, since we cannot trust our Department of Justice, but they'll have immunity from criminal allegations. And hey, for the first time, we can have a president with their own private email server. The bottom line is this: if you want the status quo establishment political elite class, then vote Hillary Clinton. In this final debate, the critical mission of Donald Trump was to convince people to vote for him, and my assessment is that he didn't achieve that objective, but Hillary Clinton gave more than plenty of reasons to vote against her and the progressive socialist media, political entertainment, cultural and educational elites who are undermining our constitutional republic. End of story.
He laid her out. He laid her out. He did not say that Donald Trump was perfect. Obviously, nobody's perfect. He's a businessman, not a politician. But Alan West is solidly in his corner, and therefore I'm guided by that. And I've got to quickly take us, because time is flying by, Sharon. I've got to take us through thanking our guests. We had Paul Caprio came on, and he talked to us about One Nation Under God Foundation, which we can find at #1 Under God Foundation, oneundergodfoundation.com. And we had Alan West, and Congressman Alan West is, I guess, writing right now with the Washington Times, Breitbart.com, PJ Media. He's the president and CEO of the National Center for Policy Analysis. So we had terrific guests today. Sharon, I want to thank you for joining us as the co-host and sharing your story about Benjamin.
Yes.
Yeah?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for letting me just jump on my soapbox and talk about choosing life. I think our other guests today really almost underlined the fact that this is a seminal, critical election. If you choose life, you need to choose Donald Trump. There is no other choice.
And that wraps it up for today. We are out of time. We've got to run. We've got to go. God bless, and we'll see you next week on the radio.